Hi, everyone, and welcome to El Camino People, the podcast. Thank you for being with us one more time here. We are so glad that we continue. And we are already in episode 66, and today we're gonna talk to a very special pilgrim, a pilgrim that has changed his life and now is hosting and welcoming pilgrims into Santiago every day. And that's a life dream. I was reading today something on Facebook. Like, what kind of things make you one of those crazy pilgrims? And one of them was that all of us will want to move to Spain. I'm like, I live in Spain. I'm the lucky one, but some of us want to, have an albergue or live in Santiago and have that pilgrim like every day. So here we are. Let's go and meet our guest. Good morning, JT. How are you doing? Oh, sorry, I could. So now I can hear you. Good morning
Okay.
again.
Good morning. I'm doing just fine.
Just fine. Come
And
on,
you?
you're
And
living
you?
the dream.
Well, it's raining.
Come on, that's Galician. I'm like the only thing is like you should be Galician by now. I'm like they can breathe under the water.
Yeah, yeah, true. So yeah, no, it's
Oh,
it's it's fine. Yeah,
but it has been quite a year. I'm like I was talking, with many Galicians, and also here in Pamplona, it's been one of those winter that it hasn't been many years like this. It's been super warm. It's been super nice weather. So maybe, but still, I told everyone that I remember last year in May it was snowing in Febrero. So usually we always have this the last end of the winter ish by May, April. So anything can happen. No,
true, true. Well, you have seen my video from Asadero, how
I
dry,
know.
yeah, how dry it has been here in Galicia. So yeah, it's crazy.
And that is tricky because also a lot of people have to remember that Spain usually they go through really bad summers that when it's really hot and there's no usually not water, and that's usually only in the south or Madrid, but in the north
True.
never happened. And this year all the reservoirs here in the north are kind of like empty, so we need water, we need the snow. And if
hmm
no, maybe pilgrims will be only based on drinking beer and wine instead of water. Not that it's a bad thing, but
I don't think they're gonna complain.
no, I don't think so. Maybe some
Oh,
coffee,
yeah,
water, whatever.
yeah,
People try to forget that in the old days, pilgrims only drink wine,
yeah. True. And
and they will mix it with water.
you know the saying, no vino, no camino.
That's it. I'm more of a beer guy, and thank God right now we have a lot of beers. We have the Peregrina, the Estrella, and all of those. But
hmm
no, vino only Albarino, no red wine.
hmm
Albarino, that's good, but no red
Alvarinho
wine.
is very, very, very good.
I love it. It's such a refreshing drink. That is the only problem is like you drink, and suddenly it's like, oh, what the heck? You stand up, and it's like, oh, yeah, okay, that was
Uh
too
huh.
much, too
True.
much Albarino.
So yeah.
Anyway, you know that we always start the interviews with a 1 minute questionnaire. So I have my list of questions. They are in English and Spanish. So once you have your Spanish proficiency level up, we'll have to repeat the interview in Spanish
True.
because my other languages other than Spanish and English are horrible. So maybe one day we will be able to do the episode in Chinese. But the whole idea is 1 minute, just, fun stuff. Whatever comes to your mind, just throw it away. Don't overthink it. It's all Camino related.
Uh-huh.
So are you ready?
I'm ready.
Let's go. Your first Camino.
July, August 2018.
How many Caminos?
7.
Ultrella or Susella?
Ultrea.
A private hostel.
Mm, I don't really do private hostels. I like municipal.
One city.
Uh, Santiago.
One meal.
Any pilgrim meal that is made together with other pilgrims.
A memory.
Uh, yeah, all my caminos.
A song.
I always listen to U2, the City of Blinding Lights, when I walk into Santiago.
One color.
Blue.
A happy moment.
Any day when I walk into Santiago.
A smell.
Food.
Canteen or camelback.
Uh, just a flask. Yeah.
Fisterra or Musia.
I would say Musia.
Okay, and the most important one to see if you're really a Galician or not, the potato omelette, with or without onions.
Sin Cebolla.
You are truly Galician, but I hate you. Anyway, whatever. Let's finish this interview. This guy is done. I'm like, nah, at least you say Musia, but Without onions, you are truly a Galician. For people that don't know, this is one of the biggest fights in Spain, and usually Galicians, they are without onions. The rest of Spain, we're usually, really eggy, you really, but
Uh-huh.
Galicians, no onions.
Yeah.
Yeah, very
So
bad.
yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, life. Yeah, we all have that little thing.
True. Yeah.
Anyway, first question that I always ask everybody is like, how and when did you find out about the Camino de Santiago? For me, the Camino is right here in my front window, and I've been living in the Camino. I'm a lucky one, but I know that for many people, there's the movie The Way, the book, or a friend. How was it in your case, and when did you hear the first time about the Camino?
A friend of mine had done the Camino in 2001, and
Mm-hmm.
she told me about that in 2002. So yeah, but it wasn't until 2018 that I actually did to do the Camino.
And since that day till you decided to walk, was there something that will come back to you? You read a book, you study about it, you start researching blogs or anything? Or was just something that was just, on the back of your head?
It was always like in the back of my head. I always knew I was going to do it, but I was like a single full-time dad to my daughter. She
Mm-hmm.
was only 2 years. No, she was 4 years old in 2002. So I couldn't really go. Yeah, but then later on, I started watching the movie The Way, and I think I have watched that movie like 100 times.
Only?
Yeah.
For the ones out there, we will have to do an episode about Camino movies because there's plenty of great Camino. I'm like, The Way is the movie, no? I think is the one that has become the most famous. But there's great documentaries. There's now a great documentary from
Yeah.
Galicians. There's great stuff. Also, there's like a lot of crappy stuff about it. I'm not gonna say any names, but there's
No,
some
no, no.
weird Camino things out there also.
Yeah. No, there are some great documentaries out. Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, for everyone, I'm horrible doing this, but please like and subscribe to the video. Remember, the whole idea of this is just, we don't make anything out of this. We just hope to get to more people, more pilgrims, and to help them. And also, if they discover that JT is in Santiago, it's the best way to visit Santiago. And one of the, great things when you arrive there, is a local can show you around and give you all the little tricks and help. And that's what we are here for, no?
Absolutely. Yeah.
So what happened? You discovered the Camino in 2001, then it starts growing in you, and finally, how did you decided? I need to go. I need to do it. It's about time.
I actually decided to go walk the full French Camino with my daughter. Yeah, she graduated like 4 days before we went to Saint Jean Pied de Port. But she had a very bad injury before
Okay.
we had to go to Saint Jean, and that basically meant that she started out walking over the Pyrenees with 2 very blue knees,
Wow.
and in a lot of pain. And she actually made it all the way to Estella.
Okay.
Yeah. And then
So
she
you
had
both
to,
started.
then she had to give up, and I had to continue alone.
So she left you behind, and you were just by yourself.
Yes. We had a
And
very, very touching, very sad goodbye at the bus station. And when she had left with the taxi, this other pilgrim came over and told me, "Oh, I took these pictures of you. It was so emotional. Wouldn't you like to have them?" Yeah.
And how was the feeling? Because I bet, for you with so many years being a single dad, finally you're doing, the experience of a lifetime with your daughter, and she tries, she goes with you. You did the most difficult part. How was those first days with her?
It was amazing. Really, really amazing. And I was like, yeah, we really wanted to come to Santiago together and do all of it. But she just had too much pain.
And one of the things, a lot of people, when they talk about the Camino, they talk about suffering, and there's always a limit. I think it's really hard to tell, and there's no way of saying, because pain and suffering for each one of us is so different. But sometimes it's true that the Camino, maybe it's not the day that you're supposed to finish. So how was the dealing with the deciding, you need to go home? Because probably it was a decision that you both took together.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we talked about it, and we even we maybe talked about it for 2 days. But when we got to Estella, it's like, no, it's not possible anymore. You're like in too much pain, and it's not fun. And a Camino has to be fun.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
one of the things. Even if you have pain during your walk or whatever, there needs to be that fun part. I'm like, the pain needs to go away when you're in the albergue, and there needs to be
yeah.
some kind of relief. So suddenly you are there and something that you plan to do with your daughter, and you're by yourself. So you decided to continue, and she decided to go home. Also, for you, that was probably a really tricky moment. I'm like, do I go back home or do I continue?
It was a very difficult decision to make if I should follow her home and come back, or if I should just stay and just let her go home. So yeah, but we decided
And
that she could handle flying home alone, and I continued walking.
and how was the first day of when you start walking by yourself?
Very emotional, very emotional. Like I really like many times. Like on the first day, I thought, no, let me go back, let me go back home. But no, I had to continue. I had waited so many years to go do it, and yeah, I just had to push through, and yeah.
And as you were going, she finally arrived home, everything, she was safe, you were still walking. How was the connection, when you were walking and she was there? What did you guys kind of like talk every day, send her pictures?
We have always had a very strong bond with each other, and yeah, even now that I live here, we write to each other every day. We talk every second day, and yeah, so we have always had a strong bond. So yeah, we talked a lot, and yeah, even back then, I sent pictures home to my family, my mom, my daughter. Yeah.
And how was the Camino for you? You were one of those person, right now everybody's planning their Camino, no? I think this year is one of the years that probably planning is a good thing, and maybe even booking sometimes because it's going to be crazy. But did you have everything planned, or were you just going to whatever happens?
No, I had the first 2 nights booked, and
2 nights
then
only.
yeah. So just Orison and Roncesvalles, and then yeah.
So you did Horizon. That's great question because for me, I never done Horizon. I always stay in Shenzhen. So how was the Horizon? A lot of people, they talk about the vibe, the feeling of just walking a little bit on the day, but also for me, staying in Shenzhen is kind of like super special. So
Yeah, I've done both now. I've done the full French Camino 4 times since 2018. So yeah, I've done both. I've just walked past and I've slept in Orison. But Orison is a very special, very unique place, and they have some very nice traditions. And
mhm.
the dinner together at night, and everyone stands up and talk about themselves and what they're doing, why they're here, and yeah.
Yeah, I think
And
that the
and you have the amazing view just sitting on that terrace
it's incredible.
outside, and yeah.
Yeah, and right now there's another also albergue that they just opened. No, I think different staff and vibe that the dog is on, but it's great that for a lot of people the first day is tricky, and it is kind of like probably the hardest day with Ocebreiro and the Camino. So if you can break it in two, stay in San Jan, take some time also for people flying from States, Canada, Australia, the jet lag can be really tricky. So taking a day or just doing a short walk, that's a great idea if you can afford the time.
I highly recommend breaking up the first stage into two, because I see a lot of people overdoing it on the first day
Mhm.
and pushing through to Roncesvalles and ending up with blisters and other injuries. And people should not underestimate walking up the Pyrenees.
And also I was going to be more, a lot of people, and this happened with a client. I'm like, we were walking and the first day was tricky, but the day after that, it is, the going down to Zubiri, it's also tricky. I'm like, it's not up and down, but the rocks and everything can destroy your knees and after
Yeah.
the day before. So if you take the day before hard, you will be carrying all that till you finish El Perdón. I'm like, so the first day it's gonna mark the next 5 days, and once you pass the Monte del Perdón, everything
Mm,
gets a little more flat and easier. But those 3 days are tricky in a way. So not just going up
true.
to Horizon.
Yeah, going down to Subiri is not very even surface. It's like very uneven, and it's very difficult to walk on.
It's bad, yeah.
Yeah.
So suddenly there you are in the Camino, you are by yourself. How was the feeling of being there with something that you have planned with your daughter? Suddenly you are by yourself and you start meeting other people.
Well, very, very quickly, I started being the one I have always been. Like, I started helping people on the Camino.
Mhm.
So, from Logroño, I started actually being a bodyguard for a young girl.
So you replace your daughter for someone else's daughter?
No, this black Spanish girl with white dreadlocks was walking with some teachers from Barcelona, and they
Uh-huh.
had to go home in Logroño. So they pulled me to the side and asked me if I could please look after this girl. And I
Oh,
said, sure, I would do that. And because she was black and had white dreadlocks, she stood out from anything. So all the
yeah.
young boys could never leave her alone. So whenever she felt it was too much, she just pointed to me and told them, "This is my bodyguard." And all the boys was kind of gonna go like, "Okay, okay, okay."
So that's what everything began. The whole,
Yeah,
protector of the Camino.
actually, yeah, it was
That's a
actually the
good
very,
one.
very, very first thing. Yeah.
That's amazing. For everyone that is listening, the Camino probably is the safest. And today here we are recording this on March, and is the Women Day worldwide. So it's funny because a while ago the Camino was said to be the safest place in the world for women to hike alone. This is National Geographic, so I'm not just making it up. And
Mm-hmm.
it is true. I think the Camino is probably the safest place where anyone can go by themselves with no problem. And like things happen once,
Mm.
but other than that, the Camino is full of people so great as you, and that will be taking care of each other. So,
People look after each other all the time.
mhm.
Whenever someone is sitting down next to the road, people go over and ask, "Are you okay? Do you need something? Do you need water? Do you need an apple?" So yeah, we always look after each other. The Camino is super safe when you consider how many people walk on
It
the
is
Camino.
incredible. Yeah, there's
Then
no
it's very,
safest
very
place in the world.
rare that things happen. But yeah,
Yeah, for me, everything happened from someone that couldn't get money from the bank, and the next pilgrim close to him, they didn't know each other. I'm like, here, €100. I'm like, what? I'm like,
mm,
yeah. I'm like, you don't have money. I have money. Use it. For
yeah,
me,
yeah,
my first Camino, I lost my wallet like 3 times. The first day, I lost my wallet coming down from Roncesvalles to Seville. So
yeah.
I was waiting in Seville. I'm like, if I lost my wallet, I have to go home.
Hmm.
Thank God I'm really close. But suddenly
Yeah.
this guy came and he's like, yeah, here's your wallet. I'm like, let me
Hmm.
invite you to breakfast. I'm like, no, no, I invite you. No, no, I invite you. So
It's amazing how much people lose on the Camino. They lose their passport, they lose their diary, but it almost always ends up back in their own hands. Yeah.
And if not, there is always someone asking, there to help or find a way. I'm like, and for sure, last year's one of the warriors on the way lost the passport. Other day, someone needs to book a flight tickets to someone else, and there is always someone there to help you, no matter what
Mm.
happens. So
Yeah, yeah.
just
True.
feel free to ask anyone, and of course, there's gonna be weird things happening, but the Camino is there to protect you and to help you. So how was the whole Camino being a bodyguard?
I enjoyed it because it was kind of fun. It was really fun. Yeah, she was a very, very nice girl, but and the boys didn't do her anything, but they
Yeah,
just wanted to talk to her. But even that can be sometimes a little too
sometimes can
much.
be, yeah,
Yeah,
when
yeah,
you're a young woman can be totally, yeah, the
yeah.
same way. So
So she felt very safe knowing that she just me and then they would go away. So I'm 6'6". That's like 198 centimeters tall. So
yeah,
like I'm
he's
very
high.
tall. I'm very tall in Spain.
Yeah,
So
muy alto.
yeah.
I'm
See,
big.
yeah, yeah,
Plus you have the bodyguard face that, yeah, what are you
yeah, yeah.
what are your
So
intentions?
it was just fun. Yeah,
Yeah, for people listening, you have to remember that sometimes in the Camino, if there's someone that is reaching you and you don't want to talk, just feel free also to say, I'm feeling like being by myself or whatever. And
yeah.
always the trick of just trying to walk with someone else so that person goes away. And that's the kind of happens all the time. And we all have that. The interesting thing, like we forget about that. We're people of the Camino. I'm like, there's always strange people, but you
Mm.
always forget about it.
Yeah, yeah.
So you start walking the Camino, you are the bodyguard, gets closer to Santiago. How was the feeling on finally, completing the dream, but also something that you plan to do with your daughter? Suddenly there you were by yourself.
So yeah, it was of course very emotional again because she was not there with me. But
Mhm.
yeah, walking down San Pedro and you see the cathedral and you get closer and closer and closer. That's a very, very special, unique thing. Yeah.
Yeah, for me, the Frances has that, that prepares you for the plaza. Like other Caminos, if you go for the Portuguese, you don't see the Bradoiro till you are there. But in the
Mm.
Frances, as you were saying, you start going down and it's there.
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah, yeah.
I don't know how it's special.
It's super, super special. Yeah, you can't even put words to it. It's like,
No.
wow, there it is. Like, yeah.
So how was the arrival? What was the once you cross the arch and you get into the Bradoiro? What happened there?
then like everyone else does, you meet the ones you have walked with, and you stand there, you celebrate, and you're having fun. Some people cry, some
Were you the
people.
crier, or were you one of those that were just too impressed that
I was just very impressed with that cathedral being there. Yeah,
it is weird because you will think that in a place that you came usually you came forward, but in this case of the Cathedral of Santiago, you left the cathedral on the left, and
yeah.
it is beautiful, but it's not so ginormous like when you see it from the Plaza Rodoiro. So
Mm.
suddenly you cross the arch. Did you have the bagpiper there, or was there music?
That was bagpiper, yeah, yeah.
And then you cross into the big plaza, and suddenly there you are.
And we had no scaffolding.
Wow.
The cathedral was just right there, like amazing.
It is incredible.
Yeah.
So, what happened after that? Did you decide to stay in Santiago for a couple of days? Did you continue your journey to Museo of Fisterra?
I was in Santiago a few days, and then we just the people who I had walked with just wanted to take the bus to Finisterre, so we just took the bus to Finisterre
Mhm.
and walked around.
And that's a great
Yeah,
option, for people that they don't have the time. Remember that there's plenty of buses to Fisterra, not to Museo.
yeah.
To Museo, there's only just one bus, but to Fisterra, you have plenty. And just going there for a day and enjoy, it's also a great option.
Mm.
And one of the questions that I ask a lot of people is like, when did you realize that the Camino was what the Camino meant? In your case, suddenly here you are right now living in Santiago after so many Caminos. When did you decided that it was kind of like, well, maybe this kind of like Camino thing is something that I want to do more? There's something, was it there at the end? Was it something that happened after the Camino, or, when you went back home?
I knew during the final days of the Camino that I had to come back, yeah, and do some more. So yeah, and like
And
most people want to come back. Most people barely make it home, then they are ready to just go again. Yeah,
we're already on the bus, on the train, on the flight. I'm like just
yeah,
waiting
yeah,
for what is going to be my next Camino, when I'm going to be able to walk it. They were
yeah,
saying that a true pilgrim already has one Camino and is already thinking about the next Camino to
yeah,
walk
yeah.
after even having done the first Camino.
Oh yeah.
So how was that going back home? Suddenly you're reunited with your daughter. You tell her about the whole Camino. How was that?
We really had some really nice talks, and showed the pictures, and yeah, very
Did
good.
she did she came back to finish the Camino, or is something that is still on the?
No, because then she started her education, and yeah, her boyfriend, and yeah, now they're working. So I think it's gonna take a while, and if they do come back to do the Camino, it will most likely be on a bicycle.
On a bicycle? That's also a great, great for a lot of people that don't have the time. It's a great experience. It doesn't allow you to, have the kind of like confraternity with a lot of people, but it also allows you to meet a lot of different people. For a lot of people, it's like, oh, the Camino by bike is so different. I'm like, yeah, but every day you're gonna meet different pilgrims. As for walking, usually you have that group of 100 that you will see every other
Mm,
day or something like that. So
yeah.
that's something that I always wanted to do. Also, riding the Francés, or maybe the Via de la Plata. So who knows?
Hmm.
Maybe one day.
Maybe the Via de la Plata would be amazing to have on a bicycle. Yeah.
Yeah, that will, because that way you can do a longer stages, and that also that kind of like road at the pave, and that will be a great
Mm,
for like a gravel or a mountain bike.
yeah. Yeah.
And for you, what had changed? A lot of people they said that the Camino changed you. The Camino is something. A lot of people, the Camino is just a way to get to know him better. What happened to you after you came back from the Camino?
I realized that I had to travel and enjoy life and do more caminos.
So when did you start? When did you start planning your next Camino?
More or less on the way home.
On the way home?
So yeah. So yeah.
What did
So
you
yeah.
do?
So I actually went back and did the Camino Portuguese, the central way from Porto,
So right on the same, you went back and came back again to Portugal
like a month later. Yeah.
a month later. This is crazy because I heard a lot of people that have done the same. They have walked the Camino Frances, and in a month, in a week, a lot of people say like, "Fuck it, I'm going back."
Yeah. Yeah.
And what did your family and friends told you? I'm like, here is this guy that has been living here, blah blah blah, active, but suddenly there you're going back to Spain to walk.
Well, no one really knows what the Camino is unless they have done it. So no one knows why you want to walk all those kilometers. It's like, why do you do it? Like, they don't get it.
No, that's I always say this, and I repeat myself a lot, but if I have to explain it to you, you're not gonna get it, and if you know it, you already know it. But that's
Yeah.
the big question: why we keep going back?
Hmm. I feel a very special, at least on the Camino Frances, a very special, unique energy
Hmm.
that I can't describe. Um, and it's amazing. Yeah.
And it's funny because it's been said, that the Camino it's a religious thing, but also it's been said, people that believe that the world has like lines of power, that the Camino follows one of those. Also, it follows the Milky Way. There is so many weird things, and it's true that the Camino Frances is different than the other. Why is
Yeah.
so different? Why, people say, okay, you have the albergues, you have everything. Okay, the infrastructure is perfect for everyone to go, but why everything has been set in that way? What
Mm.
happened prior to all of this, and that's what is intriguing. And there's no really one explanation.
There is no one explanation, but I love the history of all that way from east to west Spain. Yeah, there's
So
a lot
then
of
you
history.
decided the Portuguese, you finished the Portuguese, then you came back home. And when was the moment in your life that suddenly you decided, I need to move to Santiago? Or were you thinking just moving to Spain, or was that something that grew on you?
No, so yeah. First of all, I did those two Caminos in 2018. Then another full French Camino in
So
2019.
you repeat the French.
Yes, and
That's
then
another big question, because let me stop you right there. A lot of people, for me, I'm like thinking different Caminos, but a lot of people go back and do the French and French and French and French again. And
mhm.
why?
Well, again, the French Camino has that energy that I talked about before.
Mhm.
I strongly feel that when I walk that Camino. And it's such an amazing Camino. You can just choose to sleep new places. So the second time or third time or fourth time you go to the French Camino, you can just make it different. It's never going to be the same, because also the people you walk with is not going to be the same.
That's the key point.
And,
A lot of people, they think the Camino is the same, but I'm like, it's not.
yeah,
You are
then
different every time you go to the Camino. Plus,
and plus different seasons of the year.
mhm.
Yeah. So in 2020 I went again to do the full French Camino in January. And
In
when I got to
January,
yeah, and then
wow.
when I got to Santiago February 7, I stayed until February 9, which is my birthday. Had a birthday with some pilgrim in Santiago. Then I went to do Camino Invierno, and then I went back to Denmark at the end of February. That's when the whole COVID-19 thing started and getting bad. And
So how
then
was the Camino compared? Your first Camino was summer, spring, I guess. No.
yeah, yeah.
How was the Camino Frances compared to the winter Camino Frances?
First of all, I had seen so many pictures and news things in December about so much snow in
Mhm.
Spain, in Roncesvalles and Ocebrero and all those places. And then I got to do the full French Camino in January, and I saw this much snow.
Nothing. That's Spain. Some years people die crossing the Pyrenees, but some other time there's no problem.
Yeah. So I had days where I could just walk in a t-shirt and just have a good time. And yeah.
And what happened after that? You already have three Caminos, you go for the fourth, and then you come back and the whole COVID things hits us.
That's when all my thinking started about I had to move to Santiago.
And why Santiago?
Every time I finish in Santiago, it always feels like coming home. And every time I had to fly away, it felt wrong.
Hmm,
Basically.
interesting.
Yeah.
That's the simplest way, because a lot of people, when they move to the Camino, they're looking for the albergue, they're looking for the Spanish village, they're looking to move somewhere, but
Hmm.
very few, there is a ton of, American, Europeans living in Santiago, but usually the pilgrim dream is usually having the albergue or living in a kind of like albergue setup, not moving to a city. Even
Yeah.
though Santiago is quite a small city, for people that don't know, it's just a university city, and most of the workers or people, they do, just services over there. It's not like a huge town.
It is only like 100,000 people.
It's pretty
So,
small. It's
yeah.
huge in the summer because you see all that vibe, but other than that, it's really small.
Yeah.
And where that's
But
one,
that,
I'm like, yeah, sorry, go ahead.
no, so yeah, that's how it all started. I thought to myself, if I live in Santiago, then I can go do as many caminos as I want to do, and when I'm finished, I'm home. So
You
yeah,
always go back home.
yeah.
That's so great.
Mhm.
And in your case, I'm like European. It's easier to move to Santiago. But how was the process of moving there, finding a house, or staying there?
It's actually a little complicated.
Okay.
Spanish bureaucracy is not easy to it's not easy to
Really? Come
yeah
on.
it's not easy to navigate.
It is a pain in the butt. I'm a freelancer, and this it's incredible to set up a company, live here, do everything. It's paper, paper, paper,
Yeah,
and usually not really open and helpful people. Usually, there's great people also, but usually
yeah.
sometimes it's hard.
No, so the way you have to do this whole process, you can't even look it up anywhere. You have to like figure it out yourself how
Mhm.
to actually get to be a resident in Santiago.
Wow, we'll have to wait and create a book or a do a soul only podcast about it
Yeah, yeah.
and teach people. And how is living in Santiago?
Every day I get to walk the last part of the French Camino and get into Santiago. I get to meet all these amazing people and talk to so many people and help so many people. And yeah, it's a
And
blessing.
and what about the because in Santiago there's two communities. There's the Santiago people that live there, and there's the pilgrims that go back and forth, go back and forth. So I
Mm.
know that here, for example, in the north, we're usually really close. I'm like my friends there, my friends since we were kids in the school. So how is to find friends and living in Santiago with the people from Santiago?
It's pretty easy to talk to locals. Yeah, at least that's how I feel. I've met so many great people, and I talk to people every day from the city. And yeah, I have my second home at the Italian restaurant, and they love me. And yeah, so yeah,
So how long does it take to become a local in Santiago?
only maybe a month.
A
Yeah,
month or you're really local?
yeah, yeah. The first month, yeah, people like just took me as another pilgrim, but then they kept on seeing me again and again and again.
Oh,
Ah,
this is a
okay,
pilgrim that stayed for a week. Oh, 2 weeks. Oh,
he's not
you're
leaving.
not going.
So yeah,
And what is the best thing of living in Santiago?
what I do is the best thing here, getting to help all these amazing pilgrims.
And for that, everyone, you can reach him on Instagram, the Danish Biking Pilgrim, on Facebook. He's super active, and if not, you can contact us. And that's the beauty of this. Whatever questions you have, whatever you need, like the Camino is full of people like us that just fell in love with the Camino, and the sole purpose of what we do is just helping other to feel the same way. And with the world, what is going right now with this whole craziness that we are living,
Mm,
if more people walk the Camino and they open their hearts and their lives the way we did, I'm like, this can be a better place for all of us. So, if
yeah,
you're thinking about whatever, and if you have questions, just feel free to ask. And maybe one day you will figure out that you are living in Santiago or in Pamplona or along the Camino.
yeah. It's doable. People have to realize it's possible. Yeah.
So my final question is always, what is your next Camino?
So my next Camino, I would like to go do Camino dos Faros.
And for the ones that don't know, that's a beautiful Camino that follows the coast around the Galicia. It is also, you will say, if you walk from Fisterra to Muxia, you can take the normal Camino, the Camino dos Faros that goes along the coast. And it's an incredible, beautiful Camino that is being created by the Galicians, and also, beautiful. It's not the Camino de Santiago, but also, for people that sometimes are looking for different things and you don't want to be in crowded places or crowded Caminos, there is beautiful and amazing little Caminos in Spain, like the Camino dos Faros, and it's incredible. So if you
Mm,
have the chance and you're looking for something different, or maybe a couple extra days after finishing in Santiago and go for a different kind of like scenery.
true. But it all depends on how busy I'm going to be this year. If I'm going to be just as busy as last year, right, then I'm not going to go anywhere because, yeah,
So let me tell you, you're not going anywhere.
no, I know.
Just to the parador and to have wine and to have tortilla de patatas en la tita, and also to visit the cathedral.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Anyway, such a hard life, no?
But someone has to do it, and I'm
That's
glad
the
to do
thing.
it. I'm
Someone
glad to
has
do
to
it.
do it. Don't worry. Every pilgrim that goes by in Pamplona will be sending him your card. It's like, yeah, contact him. You're just,
Yeah,
we're gonna put you to work.
Hmm. Yeah, people start recognizing me more and more. Because I post so much online, and yeah,
It is funny how finally, someday one goes out like, "Oh, you are the guy from the Camino." I'm like,
I
"Yes,
can't
I'm that guy."
I can't even take my motorcycle and go to Finisterre to watch the sunset without having people recognize me. Even in January, I drove out there just to see the sunset, and I thought I was going to be alone. Then suddenly, this American man with his entire family, children, grandparents, everyone was out there, and I could like see on him that he was looking at me like he recognized me. And then he came over. You're that Danish Viking, aren't you? Yeah, I followed you on your caminos.
It's the things of going became famous, and always you are wearing that hat. So
Yeah,
sometimes maybe one day you're gonna have to be undercover in Santiago,
I just have to take the hat off.
and that's it.
Yeah.
Anyway, JT, thank you so much for what you're doing. For helping pilgrims, for making everything better and having a better experience. And we will see you soon. And you know that every time you go by Pamplona, you have a house here.
I look forward to it.
So as we always say, buen camino, ultrella.
Ultra, thank you for having me.
Thank you.